6 direction star pattern, Redondo Carenza for Filipino martial art. Angle 1, angle 1. Angle 2, angle 2. 3 and 3, 4 to 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 6. You ever do that thing where you record a really long tutorial that it just is exactly what you wanted it to be, and then you go to your phone and you're like, oh, I didn't hit record. Cool.
Is this thing on?
This is that. This is take 2. I hope it's as good as the first one was. If not, don't tell me. So, all right, 6 direction star pattern. My voice cracked. That's perfect. 6 direction star pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a simple star pattern, okay? Redondo is essentially any repeating line of attack. If you've already done an attack and you repeat the line, that's largely going to be then considered redondo. For some groups or schools of thought, redondo also has, it's like a description of the nature of the shot itself. Sort of a large orbital shaped shot like this, so that this is redondo even though I haven't done angle 1 and repeated it. The actual arc of the blow itself makes it an angle 1 redondo. So you're going to have to discern as an instructor what your version is. And if you're a student and you're looking at this and you've seen different variations on that term, what it means, just recognize that it can mean a few different things, and I'm just going to show you one variation today. All right, we'll start off with small redondos for angle 1 and 2. I'll show you larger versions of that, and then the rest of them will stay in more of a smaller version. So angle 1, starting open position, or abierta. You're going to pull through the center, recycle the stick up or the sword up, and bring it through again. Now the trick for this is that we're going to look at, for each of these really, the nature of how each joint moves and the hip rotation. And what I'm going to do right now is double check that I did hit play. I did. Okay, so angle 1. Like in the beginning, I'll often teach a new person, it's a little bit like unsheathing a sword. So I pull this through and unsheath. Pull this through and unsheath. That's not quite right, but for an absolute beginner, that might be a helpful note for you. It has to draw out and then hit again, okay? However, the problem with that is it starts to show a lot of elbow. So this is a pretty clear telegraph of what I'm about to do, as well as I'm just risking getting my arm smashed to bits by virtue of sticking it out there. So part of this is really gonna then come from opening your chest up. The act of opening allows me to clear the center without having to use a bunch of shoulder and elbow. Certainly it's still using those, but in a different way. So as this comes through, I'm gonna finish the motion. Instead of allowing it to come like this, again with a blade, that's not a good look. I need it to pull through the center and then start to plane horizontal a little bit. Diagonal into horizontal. Then I'm gonna open my body, pivoting on the tip, which is to say, at the last moment, the tip kind of stays where it is and the rest of it moves. 1 and here like this. See, the opening allows this to come out, and then right as it crosses the center line, turns over and drops right through. The feeling should be of gravity pulling it through, aided by my hip rotation and the coiling of the body. Angle 1, here, 2, 3, 4, 5 times through. Backhand diagonal is going to be angle 2. So that's coming through this way and turning over. It's essentially the same thing, just on the reverse side, but I get it doesn't seem as simple as that. It is, but simple doesn't mean easy. So you're starting here in your closed or serrata or cruzada position. Bring this through again at the last moment. It's going to plane horizontally just a little bit to facilitate pivoting on the tip, turning over, representing the edge in the original position, and allowing gravity to do its work on the way through, aided by the hip rotation. So angle 2, angle 2, angle 2. Now that's angle 1 and 2 is a smaller redondo where the action stays in front of your body. The larger redondo goes around the body this way and around the body this way. There's a time and place for these. It could be because you're long range, but probably it's because you have so much momentum going through the weapon that the idea of turning it over in front of you could result in you losing the weapon or blowing the wrist out. And then the idea of injuring the wrist is particularly important if the great momentum is being caused by the fact that your weapon is heavy. If you had a real heavy sword,
mighty,
or a really heavy hardwood stick, the idea that you're doing this kind of motion without blowing out your wrist is far-fetched. You have to be able to channel that momentum somewhere lest it go away from you or injure you. So the large redondo here, when it pulls through, It's gonna come behind and around, a diagonal orbital shape going around my body with me in the middle of it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The trick to this is listen to your bicep. So if I keep my head straight up and I come here, I'm gonna inevitably run into it, or rather, it's gonna run into me. If I tilt and listen to the bicep, now my head has a diagonal shape, and this plane of movement can go right across it like that. So we're here this way. 1, here, 2. Again, listen to your bicep so that as this is coming here, I tilt the head. This line and this line should be as parallel as you can get this way. Angle 2, 1, it's gonna come around this way, around my head. But look, if I don't move my head, pretty soon it starts to just become a helicopter blade. Helicopter, helicopter. That's no good. So we're gonna come here. As it turns, I'm changing the shape of my head. It's not so much that you're going this way now, right? That's pretty awkward. I'm still tilting the other way, but so that I can clear it. And for me, I like to really kind of put the shoulder forward into it. So that's my clearance. All right, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we're gonna keep the action in front. So 3 is gonna come here, again, open position, cutting across. Once I'm here to like the edge of my body line, I'm gonna allow it to come here, pivot on the tip, pull with some opening of the body. I'm over exaggerating a little bit so you can see it, and I'm pulling through again. See the hip move? And 2, 3. Angle 4, reverse order, kind of like a 2. Starting serrata position, cut across. As soon as you finish, pivot on the tip. It's a small crescent shape to turn over. My hand is here, it turns and just kind of folds over like that. So you're 1, 2, 3. It has to just kind of turn the corner. But in the beginning, it might look a bit like this in service of eventually kind of refining and reducing the elements. Uppercut diagonals, these are the hard ones. This is gonna come up this way, or you could switch your feet and give your body more clearance. As soon as it crosses through the target, it's gonna pivot, recycle back. 1, 2. So you'll notice as this is slashing up, the recycling is happening a little bit high, as opposed to here, where it's happening a little bit low, right? So we're going low to high. So as this comes here, I almost like to think of this, it's not quite accurate, or it's not quite how you do Redondo, but I like to turn a little bit into like an umbrella position that way. So you could just let this turn up like that, or you could build in a defensive position every time. Okay, backhand here is gonna pull up. Again, as soon as it clears the target, pivot on the tip, reset, and pull up. So 1, 2, see the hip drive, 3, 4. So on this side, the hip is here. On this side, the hip is here, like that. So 1 through 6, I'll just repeat each angle one time. Angle 1, angle 1. Angle 2, angle 2. 3 and 3, 4 to 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 6. 6 direction star pattern, Redondo Carenza for Filipino martial art. Bonus, vertical lines. Okay, so now we go from a star pattern to your full Escala pattern. So the vertical lines are really important shots in my opinion, in my experience. A lot of groups don't spend enough time with them, which is to say I've had a lot of luck with them. It can be tricky as a beginner student to learn these. It was for me. And it can be hard as instructors to try to communicate them. So I'll show you how I like to do it and a little bit of how I like to teach it. All right, I'm gonna go backhand vertical first because it tends to be the more common one. You could start tip up and pull through here like that, or you could start back a little bit and make it a bigger wheel of a shot. Remember, if you have a stick, the edge of your weapon correlates to the middle knuckle of your hand. That's where the edge is. So as you're working these motions with your stick, try to really emphasize where is the edge. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. You should really have awareness and intention with that orientation so you know you're delivering the edge through the imaginary target every time. I'm just gonna pull this through. As soon as it gets to about horizontal, I'm gonna plane to the side, pivot on the tip. You see there's a through line for all these. Recycle the motion. 1, 2, 3. So that's not a full circle. That would not necessarily be incorrect. But with an edge, the full circle can wind up in my leg. So this is gonna come here, pull out, forward, pull out. If you're imagining actual impact with an edge weapon, The edge weapon could get stuck in whatever your imaginary target is.
Sometimes it makes the blade stiff.
So the use of the hip to pull this out is also helpful in understanding the nature of bladed conflict. Okay, now my hack for teaching this to beginners is I do let them make a full circle. And it makes it a lot easier to learn. They just start by making a circle. You could start like wax on, wax off without a stick or a sword. That's fine. So making a circle, from my perspective for the backhand, this is clockwise. Okay, so I'm just coming here like that. Not doing anything with the wrist, just literally making a circle. Okay, right now I'm facing forward. Then I tell the student, turn sideways. Make a circle. That's it. Now I ask them, look at me over your right shoulder. Guess what? That's backhand vertical redondo. The only thing that really changes this is your position, the body movement. Maybe again, you're planing a little bit at the end and then making a cool martial art face.
That's why I'm always encouraging them to be working on their kill face.
Otherwise, it's just that. It's just a circle. I'm trying to start them and go vertical, vertical like that. You know, they kind of don't know what to do with the stick, or it's a lot of wrist action. I find by letting them really emphasize the shoulder motion this way, just look past the shoulder, right away they go, oh, okay, well, at least I get what it is we're trying to do, and you can refine from there. Forehand vertical redondo, another great shot. I like to switch and put the left foot in front so I have more clearance, but certainly you can do it this way as well. Time and a place for all of these. So I'm gonna go left foot in front. So this is coming through essentially the same as the backhand. It's vertical. Sometimes it even pitches a little bit through the center line. Vertical. Once it gets to about horizontal, planing, pivot on the tip, recycle, bring it up, through and around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can make the hack the same way, but instead of going clockwise for the backhand, I'm going counterclockwise or anti-clockwise for the forehand. So I just have them go here. Okay, now look over that shoulder. Congratulations, you're a black belt in forehand redondo. Right? It's essentially this simple. You get what I mean. And you start to add in different things to it. But as a beginner for the gross motion, this definitely helps a lot. Now, backhand on the vertical line is really hard to do, or at least for me. Maybe you guys will be much better than I am. It's tricky, it's a little more awkward, and the nature of the shot, I think, changes quite a bit from being what feels like a true redondo to maybe being something a little bit different entirely. So starting with the backhand, this is up and through here like this. Now, I don't necessarily want to come all the way up and all the way up again. I'm trying to even imagine why you would need this kind of motion as a big uppercut, leaving your body open that way. The smaller one is gonna make a lot more sense. Once I'm kind of through my center line, just wheeling it around, just turning it back to its original position. So the hand goes 1, 2, 3. Again, that sort of turn and crescent shape thing that we've been doing already. Up, bring it back, up, bring it back. Now what's kind of cool with these is you can build in a defensive component that again may kind of break up the idea of it being redondo, but it makes for a good exercise. So that if this is redondo, like this is backhand uppercut to shield to backhand uppercut. 1, 2, and 3. As a redondo, this is probably a smaller shot, and I like the idea of it being here while I'm kind of on the run, right? I'm moving and hitting a couple low blows like this en route to something different. The forehand one is the one that I really have a hard time with. So this is gonna come up this way. Make sure your hand position is correct. So you're delivering the edge upward like this. And then it's gonna draw back and go again, draw back and go again. If we were to break this apart and add in the natural defensive component, you have the other side of that shield, which is really more your umbrella or roof position, so that it slashes, defends, and slashes like that. And otherwise, this just kind of pulls up. This is the one that to me stops really being a true redondo, and it's just sort of a series of small scoop cuts, right? So the target is low, maybe it's anything below the waist, and you're just carving and pulling the tip of the sword out that way, slashing, and then maybe thrusting or going into something else, so that it just recycles. It loses a lot of that sense of being a big orbital shape this way that typically we associate with redondo, and again, maybe arguably something different there. But for the sake of the video and the sake of kind of completing the 8 directions, forehand and backhand, there you have that one that you could play around with. All right, that is the 6 directions for your Redondo Carenza. Hopefully this one worked. Thanks for watching. If you have any requests of anything else you'd like to see, let me know. I'm more than happy to try to put something together for you. Please subscribe, comment, share, all that stuff, and we will see you for the next one.